All right, today we are jumping into one of the most direct, no-nonsense letters you'll ever read, the Book of James. It's short, it's punchy, and it asks a really simple but kind of uncomfortable question. Does your life actually match up with what you say you believe? Let's get into it. Right out of the gate, James hits you with this. I mean, talk about an opener. Count it all joy when you face trials. It's a line that's designed to make you stop and go, wait, what? And it's the first sign that this book is going to flip our usual way of thinking completely on its head. So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the author's whole tough love vibe. Then, we're going to dive into that wild idea about finding joy in hard times. We'll get to the heart of it, why James is so convinced that faith is a verb, something you do. And we'll cover his serious warnings about our words, which all leads up to his final point, that big choice we all have between pride and humility. So who is this guy? Well, he just introduces himself as James, a bondservant of God. That's it. No long introduction, no fancy title. His style is super blunt, and it's on purpose. He's not really interested in a long, complicated debate. He's basically demanding that we stop just hearing the words and actually start doing something about them. And this right here perfectly shows what he's all about. When James defines pure religion, it's got nothing to do with theories or rituals. Nope. It's about real-world, hands-on action. Taking care of people who are hurting and trying to live with integrity. For James, what you do is the loudest statement about what you truly believe. Okay, let's circle back to that first line, the one that probably made you do a double take. How on earth can anyone find joy in suffering? Well, James completely reframes it. He says it's not just some random awful thing happening to you. It's a test, and it has a purpose. See, he doesn't just say, be happy. He actually lays out a process for growth. He argues that trials are designed to test your faith, and when you get through that test, it produces patience, or you could say endurance. And if you let that patience finish its work, it shapes you into a mature, whole person. It's a process, not just a feeling. But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. James says when you ask God for wisdom to get through all this, you have to ask without any doubt. You have to be all in. He paints this picture of a person who doubts as being totally unstable, just like a wave getting tossed around in a storm. And he says that person can't expect to get anything. The point is pretty clear. Your commitment is what keeps you stable. And that idea of being all in, well, it leads us straight into the absolute core of this entire letter. This is the big one, the idea James is most famous for. He argues that real faith has to be something you can see. It's not just a thought or a feeling, it's something you do. This is it. This is the final word on the subject, the knockout punch. The comparison is so powerful you can't miss it. A body without a spirit is, a corpse. It's lifeless. James says it's the exact same with faith. If your faith doesn't lead to actual actions, it's just dead, useless. It's not the real deal. He makes this so clear with this example. Imagine you see someone shivering and starving. What good does it do to say, hey, hope you get warm and find some food, if you don't actually give them a coat or buy them a meal? One is just empty words. The other, that's living faith in action. And just to hammer the point home, James throws out 3 really powerful examples. He points out that, hey, even demons believe in God. They have their theology straight, but it doesn't do them any good. Then he holds up Abraham and Rahab as people whose faith was proven to be real because of what they did. Their actions were the evidence. So, from the actions of our hands and feet, James pivots to the power of our words. And man, he dedicates a whole section to the one thing that is so incredibly hard for any of us to get a handle on, the tongue. To show us just how powerful it is, he gives us this series of quick, powerful metaphors. First, he says the tongue is like that tiny metal bit in a horse's mouth. That little thing can steer the entire powerful animal. Or, he says, it's like a small rudder on a huge ship. It's tiny in comparison, but it directs the ship's entire course, even when the winds are crazy. And then comes the most dramatic one. It's like a single spark that can set an entire forest on fire. The message is loud and clear. This tiny part of our body has a scary amount of power. So after showing its power, James just lays it on the line, no sugarcoating. He says people can tame all sorts of animals, but not a single human can tame their own tongue. He calls it a restless evil, full of deadly poison. Wow.
And here's the problem he zeroes in on, the absolute contradiction of it all. How can we use the same mouth to praise God 1 minute and then turn around and curse people who are made in God's image? He says it's like a freshwater spring suddenly spouting salt water. It just doesn't make sense. And as he puts it, these things ought not to be so.
This all leads him to his final big theme. Because the source of those destructive words, the source of our fights, the source of playing favorites, James traces it all back to one root problem: pride. And the solution he offers is its complete opposite: humility. This is the fundamental principle behind everything else. It's a really simple but powerful equation. If you're proud, you'll find yourself opposed by God. But if you're humble, you open yourself up to receiving grace. He presents it almost like a law of the spiritual universe. And like always, he doesn't just leave pride as some vague concept. He gives a very specific list of what it actually looks like. It's when you treat a rich person better than a poor person. It's the selfish desires inside you that cause you to fight with others. It's bragging about all your big plans for the future, as if you're in total control. And it's the rich hoarding their money while the people who work for them are suffering. Then, right in the middle of this warning about prideful planning, James just hits pause on everything. He asks this one devastatingly simple question that's meant to cut through all our noise and self-importance. For what is your life? And here's his answer. Your life, he says, is a vapor. It's like a puff of mist in the morning. It's here for a second, and then it's just gone. Now, that's not supposed to be depressing. It's supposed to bring clarity. Because if life really is that short, then there's just no time for a faith that's dead, or for words that destroy, or for pride that pushes people away. There's only time for a humble, real act of life. So the message of James isn't just something to know, it's a challenge. Given the little time you've got, how are you going to prove what you say you believe?